instructor at UMBC. Today we're going to review a Pilates exercise called Sidebend. This exercise is a great spinal cord stabilization exercise. It works your obliques, those are your side muscles, as well as your back muscles, and it requires shoulder stability. That means that it requires you to have good built-up shoulder muscles. If you should have any shoulder issues, please refrain from doing this exercise or opt for the regressed option. Please note that this is an exercise you can do as many times as you choose. It is a great way to engage your body into physical fitness without having to extend the length of your day or time in your day to fit it in. It'll fit in wherever you can put it. So let's get started. To set up for this exercise, we need to be seated on a firm, flat surface, such as a yoga mat, or if you have carpeted floor, or even hardwood floor works just fine. When you're seated on that surface, you want to come to a side-seated position. So think of like a supermodel in a centerfold of a magazine. That's how you're going to prepare your body to do this exercise. Now, my hand is going to be down and on the mat, palm down, fingers spread. That is going to be the same side of the knee that is on the mat. So for example, my left arm is down on the mat, palm down, fingers spread. My left knee is also down on the mat, laying on its side. My right knee is going to be bent and pointed upward towards the ceiling, while my right arm is going to be extended, palm up, fingers spread, and meet up with my knee. Now, I can tell that I'm not extended enough for this exercise. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that my body's in a 45-degree angle, and in order to do so, I'm going to extend my body a bit without changing my setup form. That requires me to open up my legs a little bit more, still keeping the bent knee position, and stretching out my hand that's on the mat, bringing it further away from my body while I continue to measure my top hand on top of my knee. Now it's in a good position, and now I'm in more of a 45-degree angle and ready to start this side bend exercise. When we're ready to do this exercise, for the first time, we're going to do the regressed position. The regressed option allows us to keep the bottom knee on the mat at all times. When we come up from the mat, we are going to push through the hip, but not push the hip up to the ceiling. We're simply going to lift the hip off of the mat so that we will be elevated off of the mat, like so. Now my knees are open and I've pushed my hips up off the mat, but they're not pointed toward the ceiling. My hand that was on top of my knee now comes up above my head, and my fingertips are pointed to the ceiling. Now, if when you come to this position, you feel that you are being challenged enough and this is more than enough for you, then feel free to lower your hip back down to the mat and lower your hand back down and let that be the end of the exercise for you. That is just fine, and that is fantastic in its own right. If you would like to progress and move forward and you're ready for the next step in this exercise, then we're going to transition to bringing our arm over our head while our hip is elevated into the air and pushing our rib cage towards the ceiling as we inhale and draw breath in through our rib cage laterally, meaning from the sides. Then we were going to come back down to the mat in a nice smooth motion. In order for us to make those transitions, we have to be sure that we have good, again, shoulder stability, hand is flat on the mat. This top foot is nice and firm on the mat as well as this bottom knee is nice and down on the mat. We are also going to make sure that we are not constricting our breathing, because our breathing is what's going to help us to push up. So let's get ready to do so again. Please make sure you're utilizing the full space of your mat or your surface. 45-degree angle to start, side seated position like a centerfold. We're going to inhale. Now we're going to exhale, lift our hips off the mat. Bring our arm up above our shoulder, so our wrist, elbow, and shoulder in alignment. Now, if we want to move further, we are going to inhale. Bring our arm over our head. Don't fold into your chest. Keep your chest open, ear parallel to the mat. And now when we're ready to come down, we're going to exhale and smoothly come down to our start position and ready to restart. Okay? Now let's try that on the other side, because I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes you can do something really well on one side of the body and sometimes not so well on the other side of the body, which is why in exercise we always try to treat both sides evenly so they're both strengthened. So I'm coming back to my 45-degree angle, my side seated position, my centerfold position. I am extending myself so that I have a good form to start, and my wrist is right on top of that knee, or at least as close to it as possible. I am contracting my abdominals because in addition to the breath, that's what's going to help me to elevate my hips off of the mat and be ready to move into the second phase of this position. Let's inhale. Belly button is pulled tight. Now, let's exhale. Keep the bottom knee on the mat. Arm comes up. Palm is forward. Fingertips push to the ceiling. Now, let's go ahead and inhale again and reach overhead and push our rib cage up towards the ceiling, not our hip. Make sure you're not closing in on your chest muscles. Now let's exhale and come down. Very nice. Now let's try that one more time to get a good feel of the exercise on this side of the body. Inhale. And exhale, come up. Inhale. Exhale, lower. Great. Now let's try the progressed version of this exercise. The progressed version of this exercise requires both of your legs to be fully extended once we push our hips off of the mat. It is the same motion in the sense of bringing your arm straight up first and then bringing the arm overhead as you push our rib cage up towards the ceiling. But know that it requires a little bit more abdominal action because you're going to have both legs extended and you're not going to have that bottom knee for support. So, if you are willing to try this exercise, be mindful of those things and prepare yourself accordingly so that you can have good form when you're elevated off of the mat. I'm going to set myself up in my side-seated position, centerfold position. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to inhale just as I did before, but when I exhale, I'm going to extend both of my legs and get to a point of stability before I transition into the next phase of the exercise. So inhale, exhale. Now, when I'm good and stable, I'm going to inhale, push my rib cage up towards the ceiling before I exhale, and come back down to my side-seated position. Let's try that one more time. Remember, take your time, don't rush it. Take your time and go through each phase of the exercise to make sure that your body is prepared and ready to support you as you move through each phase. Inhale. and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now let's try it on the other side. Side seated position. Using the full space of my mat or my surface. Let's get ready to inhale. And let's exhale. Arm comes up first. Now let's inhale and reach over. And let's exhale and lower down. Let's try that again. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Very nice. Let's go back to our first side and let's clean it up just a touch. And when I say clean it up, I mean that I want you to remember a few things. First of all, in the regress position, keep your knee on the mat. Keep your hand flat on the mat for stability and support. Also, once you come up with your hips off of the mat, breathe. Don't hold your breath. Breathe. Your body needs the oxygen to help you with the move. When you get ready to do the phase, the second phase of that exercise, and reach your arm overhead, you want to be able to say to yourself, I am an arch. That is the goal, to make an arch with our body. And that's why we push our rib cage up towards the ceiling to help us do so. So let's do one more example of each portion, each regressed portion on both sides of the body, each progressed portion on both sides of the body. And when we do them, we are going to think, I am an arch, when we come to that second phase. Let's get started. Set yourself up for success. Wrist on top of your knee, side seated position. Knee is going to stay down on the mat for this first one. Inhale. Exhale. Arm is up. Now, arm comes over and arch. Push that rib cage on an inhale. Exhale. Lower the arm down. Come back to a side seated. Now we're going to do the full progressed version of the exercise. Both legs are going to be extended this time. And if you're not up for this option, please remain with the regressed option. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Push, arch. Exhale. Let's switch to the opposite side of the body and do the same exact thing. First with the knee down on the mat. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, arch. Exhale. Now let's do the full progressed version of this exercise. Both legs extended. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Very nice. Few reminders. This exercise requires shoulder stability. If you have any shoulder issues, I encourage you to refrain from this exercise and or stick with the regressed version of the exercise. Always prepare your body with your breaths and always start with a good setup. I want to thank you for joining me to do the Pilates side bend. Thank you again and be well. Bye now.